Market off the day's low led by sharp recovery in financials, but lingering concerns over tighter monetary policies continue to pressure the stocks even as big earnings for the season kickoff. With TCS number today, FMCG, auto and industrials bear the brunt. IT fares relatively better.
JLR reports weak sales for September on semiconductor shortage, even as demand for key models remains strong. Analysts see this delaying Tata Motors' deleveraging plans.
The Jaipur Associates board decides to divest its significant cement assets, while its arm Jaipur Power Ventures will also divest its Nigri cement grinding unit. The deal will help lighten the group's debt levels.
IDBI Bank surges on government and LIC, eyeing a 60% stake sale, while Indiabulls Housing Finance sinks after ED says it will challenge the High Court's stay on proceedings, and Bandhan Bank slips on a weak Q2 update.
Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar, and with me, as always, is Pavitra Parekh. So Monday and this particular week, Pavitra, began on a very somber note. It was softish start, in fact, more than 1% cut. But then look at the trajectory. It is a secular run towards the recovery. So market is really hell-bent, and around lunchtime, a lot of times the trend reversal really takes place. So that's what we are looking at in the next half an hour of trade, whether Nifty 50 really turns into the green. Not much ground left to cover at the moment. So if you really look at Nifty 50 from the opening rate, which was lower than 17,100 level, it is trending at 17,267 at this point, and only 0.27% lower in trade. But a lot needs to be given back to Bank Nifty as well as the big financials. They are the ones which really lead the charge in the recovery as well, and even the downfall. So today is a day when it's turned positive, 0.13% up on Bank Nifty at the moment, but it's the mid-cap universe which is showing immense amount of weakness. There is a huge underperformance to the key indices, down 0.75% at the moment. Advanced decline ratio, because of the broader market being on the weaker side and not showing the kind of let-up and resilience that the key indices are showing, well, the market breadth is on the weaker side today. Pavitra.
Well, absolutely. And it is all about that recovery, right, that you mentioned. And this is a pattern we've seen play out time and time again. The market reacts sharply to a big global news event, and then that dip is immediately bought. So that's what we're seeing happen today as well. Mind you, this is at a time when the rest of the Asian markets are seeing no recovery at all. In fact, they've only worsened. So Hang Seng is seeing a cut of over 3% right now. You have Shanghai Straits, which will also come up. And those are the kind of losses that you're seeing right now. So there's been no respite in those markets. The financials doing well for us. What's not doing well is the auto pack. So, of course, JLR, like we spoke about, so Tata Motors is under pressure. You also have Hero, which is under pressure, and some of the pharma names which are losing in trade. In terms of FMCG, it's quite split because Tata Consumer is, of course, still down sharply, but a lot of the other counters have seen a big recovery. So whether it's Britannia, HUL, they are still in the red, but they've seen a big recovery from the day's low. And of course, we're tracking the entire IT pack. TCS is holding in the green ahead of its earnings, but the rest of the IT pack is in focus as well. That's what's happening with the market action. We'll come back to this, but the other big news story that we're tracking is that the rupee, which opened at a fresh low of 82.62 to the dollar, it has recovered from those levels now. So Lata is here to tell us more about that. Lata.
Well, the rupee had to start lower because it was a triple whammy day. Crude prices higher, dollar stronger, and US yields much higher than what it was when we went to bed on Friday. So the NDF market, which is the rupee trading overseas, the non-deliverable forwards, that overseas market had indicated an 82.82 start for the rupee in morning trades. Now, when it is an NDF market, the Reserve Bank looks at it possibly as speculative positions, a mix of shorting of the rupee, that, FX reserves are falling. After all, on Friday, we got that FX number, which was just 532 billion compared to a high of 640 billion year ago, and plus crude oil. All these are sentimental rupee negatives. So, and it is in the NDF market, which is, as they see, a more speculative market. So they came in heavily in early morning trade. The rupee did touch 82.62, but there was a lot of PSU banks selling dollars, which is market lingo for RBI intervention. Dealers say that left to itself, the rupee will still go towards the 83 mark. But today, the US and the Japanese markets are closed for separate reasons. And therefore, for the moment, perhaps the Reserve Bank will be able to stem the volatility. But the direction is very clear that there is perhaps more fall to come for the rupee, especially because, the mix is bad for us. Exports to do badly because globally there is recession, but recession is not pulling crude prices down. It's a bad combo for the currency, at least in the near term. A word on the bond markets there as well. The yields have gone up, but it's not as bad as we thought. The US yields are so much higher. So the expectation was it will cross 7.5. It's kind of held on simply because the Friday auction of Government of India paper, especially the 10-year, went smooth, a little better than expected. So at the moment, it's not terrible, but the near-term look is that it's going to be 7.62, which is the high the yields touched in June. So that is very much on the market's radar.
All right, Lata, thanks so much for getting us all the details on the currency movement. Of course, rupee will be on our watch list with the new record lows that it has been touching day in, day out in the last few sessions. Now, here's a word coming in from Chetan Iyer, the chief Asia economist at Morgan Stanley, on the way forward for the Indian rupee as their firm sees it.
Oil prices are still below $100. So if you still see oil prices below $100, we think India should be able to manage a current account deficit, which is in the ballpark of 3%, which is a little bit higher than 2.5% number that as a threshold has been identified by the RBI. But it's not that far off from that manageable level of 2.5%. So we think that it will mean currency depreciation pressures, but it won't be such that it causes a major shift in the central bank's monetary policy in a disruptive manner.
All right, that is the word coming in on the outlook for the rupee. But with that, let's move on and talk about some individual stocks which are in focus today. Tata Motors is under pressure. It's one of the top losers on the Nifty after JLR sales fell 5% in the second quarter. Sonia is standing by to tell us more about that. Sonia.
Thanks a lot for that. As you rightly pointed out, Tata Motors is the biggest Nifty loser today after the Q2 JLR sales failed to impress the street. In fact, the company said that it is because of supply side shortages, the semiconductor shortages, that the numbers were weak. But even if you look at the trend over the last many quarters, JLR managed to sell just 88,121 units, which is a fall of 4.9% year on year. But on an average, it would have done about 90,000 to 1.2 lakhs 3-4 quarters ago. So compared to its own average as well, the numbers have come down quite a bit. And this at a time when a lot of other automakers are seeing a revival in sales. So that's where the disappointment comes through. If you look at the breakup, Jaguar sales are actually down almost double digits, down 9.9% year on year. And Land Rover sales are down by about 3.6%. In fact, JP Morgan put out a note this morning where they downgraded Tata Motors from an overweight to a neutral. They say that because of the weakness in sales, it also delays the deleveraging timeline, and the company, may find it challenging to meet their own guidance that they had laid out of deleveraging. The miss, though, is driven by supply chain constraints. The wholesales have disappointed, while the retail sales are slightly better than what the street was estimating. Hence, the stock is under pressure. We had a chance to speak to a lot of auto ancillary players that supply to Jaguar Land Rover, like Motherson Sumi, for example, and they said that the China market is still under quite a bit of pressure because of the COVID challenges there, and that seems to be the problem pocket for Tata Motors. Back to you.
All right, Sonia, thanks so much for getting us all those details on Tata Motors. But Nifty 50, with the secular kind of a run in terms of relief that it was seeing, is seeing a little bit of a knockout from RIL, ITC as well as HDFC Bank. So keep those three stocks on your radar, the heavyweights, which have seen some sell-off from the top, and therefore are betting the kind of relief that Nifty 50 was seeing. With that, we'll slip into a short breather on the show. But on the other side, remember, Indiabulls Housing Finance tanks as the Enforcement Directorate moves the Supreme Court to continue its investigation against Indiabulls Housing Finance. We'll get you that story in just a bit.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. And Indiabulls Housing Finance is one stock that we're tracking. It's tanking in trade over 6% lower after the Enforcement Directorate has moved the Supreme Court, challenging the Delhi High Court's order to quash the probe against Indiabulls Finance. So Ashmit is standing by with all of the details on this one. Ashmit.
Well, it was just this last month in September that the Delhi High Court had quashed the ECIR that served as the basis of the ED investigation into Indiabulls Housing Finance. What's important is that this ECIR also served as the basis for ED search and seizure operations, as well as various lookout circulars that had been issued against members of senior management of Indiabulls Housing Finance. Now, the Delhi High Court had held that the FIR that serves as the basis of this ECIR has been done away with, has been quashed, and therefore the ECIR cannot survive. The ED investigation cannot survive, and therefore needs to be quashed. The ED, we understand, has now challenged that order before the top court of the country. The ED has held that there are various PMLA violations which are blatant, which cannot be ignored, which need to be investigated, and therefore the Delhi High Court order needs to be vacated, needs to be set aside, and that's the argument that they will be making. We understand that this argument is scheduled to be taken up today before the top court. The apex court is yet to take up this case so far. We understand it will come up in the later course of the day. Back to you.
All right, thanks Ashmit for giving a heads up, and we'll keep getting back to you as and when the order really appears in the court. All eyes would be on Indiabulls Housing Finance. The stock has already reacted negatively. Now, the union government that invited the expression of interest for the privatization of IDBI Bank on Friday, and the government plans to offload the 30% stake it owns along with another 30% stake held by the Life Insurance Corporation of India. So in all, the winning bidder will get a little over 60% shareholding and management control of IDBI Bank. And my colleague Sapna Das spoke to DIPAM Secretary Tuhim Kanta Pandey on the modalities of the exercise and the government's expectations from this divestment. Let's listen in.
The government will keep a 15% residual equity, and LIC also will keep 19% residual equity for the time being. But this will be, subsequent to post this investment, it will be up to us to really decide as a time. There is a lock-in requirement of 40% for 5 years. That's a RBI requirement, so that the promoters which are identified, they are locked in for a certain period of, and they don't walk away. Going forward, it's important that, that the capital is further brought in for its growth, and it is put onto a further growth path, and then government and the LIC actually will exit, because in any case LIC was to exit, government was to exit. So this is not something which exit was not. The only thing is that, this decision has been taken to do it together in a strategic disinvestment manner.
All right, that is the Divestment Secretary on the IDBI divestment plan. But with that, let's move on and bring you our special for the festive season. As the season is on in full swing and businesses across the country are trying to recover from 2 whole years of lockdown, the impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and of course rising inflation. But the recovery is evident only in pockets. And as CNBC-TV18 Santhya Gora reports, the main market in Jaipur is yet to get its mojo back. Take a look.
This is Jaipur Parakota market, home to over 5,000 shops and the heart that makes Jaipur India's pink city. Inside this market sits Johari Bazaar, by far the most famous landmark and the busiest section of the Parakota. But for the 400 shops that operate in Johari Bazaar, the last 2 years have been tough. First, because of 2 years of a lockdown that kept both domestic and international shoppers away, and then due to rising inflation that has put a dampener on discretionary budgets. The market usually enjoys 2 festive seasons in a year, but the last couple of seasons have not brought much cheer, nor have the traditionally lucrative wedding seasons.
अब के जो अप्रैल मई जून की शादी थी उसमें मार्केट में काम में उठाव नहीं था, व्यापार कम था बहुत, तो मार्केट में उठाव आएगा। इससे पहले का जो 3-4 महीने का बाजार था उसमें व्यापार बहुत कम था।
The pain is not restricted to jewelry stores, Shopkeepers and businessmen in Parakota say that average revenues, which used to comfortably cross 1,000 crore rupees per year before the pandemic, fell to low single digits during the lockdowns and saw only a modest revival when the export markets opened up. Footfalls are yet to reach pre-COVID levels, and 47-year-old Ranu Jandal, who runs an upscale garment showroom in Johari Bazaar, says that even those customers who have returned are a lot more cautious in opening up purse strings.
अभी तक कस्टमर 100% के लेवल पे नहीं आया है। उसका रीजन सेंटिमेंट्स कुछ भी आप कह सकते हैं कि आज कस्टमर अपने हाथ में पैसा रख के चलना चाह रहा है या उसको अभी भी वो वेट कर रहा है स्पेंडिंग्स के लिए। प्री कोविड के लेवल तक लगभग आ गए हैं, बट और जो बेटरमेंट चाहिए वो नहीं मिल रहा है अभी।
Around 2 kilometers away lies Jaipur's Jayanti Bazaar. This is a hub for electronics and appliances and houses 52 shops that account for 35% of Rajasthan's overall electronic appliances sale. While sales were off to a slow start this year, shopkeepers say the recovery has picked up with the advent of the festive season, outstripping other categories. However, businesses in both markets are pinning their hopes on things picking up as Diwali comes closer.
Season has just yet started, so we cannot say that we have touched the pre-COVID level, but the sales which are running right away in these days are good compared to the COVID level which was running. We all are expecting this Diwali will make some good sales figures out.
अब हमें उम्मीद है कि जो आने वाला सीजन आ रहा है, दिवाली या शादियों का सीजन, उसमें बाजार काफ़ी अच्छा उठेगा और व्यापार काफ़ी अच्छा आएगा।
The state government tried to give these businesses a leg up by organizing an expo in August, but that has had limited impact.
Some of these shopkeepers had hoped that business would pick up once festive demand kicked in, but so far that has not materialized. Even tried and tested sales techniques like discounts and offers are also not finding many takers, and with high inflation putting a dampener on discretionary spending, businesses here continue to face some tough times. In Jaipur, with camera person Milind Wagmare, this is Santhya for CNBC-TV18.
All right, Santhya there reporting from the markets of Jaipur and giving us a sense of consumption at this moment. But keep an eye out on the market. The secular run towards the relief rally has really been arrested in the last few minutes of trade. We have actually lost a lot of ground. Nifty 50 as well as Sensex inching towards about 0.5% cut at the moment. Mid-cap racing towards 1% cut. And the real damage has come in from the financials, which were in the green, have now turned into the red again. So Bank Nifty is the one which is the culprit at the moment. But not just the Bank Nifty components. Keep an eye out on the Reliance Industries stock. That has also seen profit booking right from top, as well as HDFC Twins and SBI, State Bank of India, the largest bank, has also seen some cutting of gains from the top, and that's what has impacted the overall market sentiment. On that note, we'll slip into a short breather on the show. But remember, up next, we get you the latest coming in from the international sphere. Russia hits back with missile strikes on Kyiv after President Putin accused Ukraine of blowing up a key bridge linking Crimea to Russia. More on that story and more coming up. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch, and let's get you the latest coming in on the international front. And tensions escalate between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, multiple explosions hit the center of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, with reports of casualties and people being injured there. Now, Russian President Putin has accused Ukraine of a terror attack that comes just 2 days after the blast destroyed part of Russia's Kerch Bridge, the only bridge linking Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. In fact, Ukraine has not claimed any responsibility for this particular attack, and NBC News' Cal Perry filed this report.
It's about 8:15. Just about 2 hours and 5 minutes ago, we started hearing those first explosions. It became immediately clear that this was a wave of rocket attacks hitting the capital. We heard at least 3 explosions within the first 15 minutes. There was a lull for maybe 30 minutes and then another series of explosions. And you know this, you've been here. Sometimes it is hard to determine whether it's incoming fire, that is rockets coming in, or outgoing. We've heard a lot of this anti-aircraft fire going along as well. Initial reports from the government at least 8 people killed here in the capital, another 24 wounded. You can expect those numbers to rise. We've seen video from the downtown area, not far from where I am, of cars on fire. And I will tell you, the streets are now completely clear in a way that they have not been for months. People obviously taking this very seriously. And it is because of what you are talking about. The entire country seemingly now under what is clearly a coordinated attack by the Russians. At least 4 cities, Kharkiv in the eastern part of the country coming under a bombardment, at least 4 explosions being reported by our team on the ground there. You have the strikes here in Kyiv, again, an unknown number of rockets falling. In the city of Rivne, at least 5 people reported killed. And again, these are initial early reports. And then as far west as the city of Lviv, we understand infrastructure targets were hit from early this morning, including some of these power substations. We had the power here flicker on and off this morning as well. It is an ominous sign. If Vladimir Putin is able to hit some of these infrastructure targets, it could really change the game here. And again, this feels like the beginning of something. It doesn't feel like the end of something. People here were bracing, I think, for this because of what happened to that bridge in Crimea, that explosion. So people were ready, but you can never really prepare once those rockets start falling, guys.
Cal, thanks a lot for that. That is the latest coming out of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We're going to keep bringing you updates on this. But with that, let's move on and bring you some more somber news. Senior Indian politician Mulayam Singh Yadav passed away this morning after a prolonged illness at the age of 82. The Samajwadi Party founder was hospitalized since August. Uttar Pradesh has announced a 3-day state mourning. The veteran leader was 3 times Chief Minister of the state, and he was also elected to the Lok Sabha as an MP 7 times. Condoling his death, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that Yadav was a remarkable personality and was widely admired as a grounded leader. The mortal remains of the leader will be taken to his native place, where the last rites will take place tomorrow.